I'm Kareem Rae, your host at the One Soccer Nation podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Justin Papadakis. Justin, thanks for taking the time. Can you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Great. Thanks for having me on to talk about soccer. Justin Papadakis, Deputy CEO and Chief Real Estate Officer at USL.
Amazing. I mean, we just reconnected after, I think 3 years later in Spokane, Washington, for the USL Expansion Summit, which was an amazing event. So it was nice to see you in person again. I love everything that you guys are doing at USL and super excited to see what's to come in the next 5 years. With saying that, my favorite go-to question to start off with is, how did you get involved in the beautiful game?
Well, take you back a ways. So my dad, who's our CEO, he grew up in Greece and came from a real poor family and moved to Canada, where I know you are today. So the weather was definitely different between Athens and Winnipeg. So didn't have a lot, but what he did have is he happened to be really good at soccer. And so that got him into high school, got him into college, got him into law school because he coached the team. And so, and then had a great career. So for me, I had a lot easier and played growing up. But besides playing, what I did know and instilled very early is how soccer can change people's lives, because it certainly changed my family's life. And so, my dad was a great player. I was a good player with a great coach with him. And so, had the fortune of playing growing up, and then went over, played in Europe with a club called Benfica for a couple of years during high school, and then came back over and played with Duke. And then went to real estate, and then over to the USL when my dad bought it in 2008, and I joined full time in 2015. So it's been an incredible ride since then to see the growth of the league, and I think most excitingly, we're just getting started. 2025 is going to be the biggest inflection year, I think, across every metric for soccer in the United States. And we're excited that USL is a big part of that.
Amazing. I always love the aspect of individuals that have a connection to soccer, playing experience, coaching, etc., because I feel like there's a different type of relationship with the game, right? So I always appreciate that, and it's amazing to know that from a league perspective, as well as any owners that have that soccer background per se. With saying that, we got we just wrapped up the 2025 FIFA Club World Cup. Next year is the big one, the 2026 World Cup, which is going to be hosted by Canada, US, Mexico. And then 2028, we got the Olympics and potentially 2031 Women's World Cup. How does this positively affect USL?
So the 2026 World Cup will be the bookend to the 1994 World Cup. And the explicit purpose of the 94 World Cup was to kickstart professional soccer, men's soccer in that case, in the United States. So when we look at 2026, I think everyone will be blown away if you could, look back at 1990 or look forward to 1994 and say, look where the game of soccer is, the professional side and the youth side, men and women. In 2026, I think everyone would say that's amazing. At the USL, again, we're playing a big part of that. We have, $10 billion of stadium anchored development, millions of fans and growing every single day. And importantly, we've, along with our MLS and NWSL colleagues, are now on the cusp of producing some of the best soccer players in the world. We've been really focused at the USL on really building the foundation. Unlike Europe, which came endowed with stadiums for all their clubs because of, they've just been around for 100 plus years, we have to build all that infrastructure. And so that's what we've really been focused on, is building the infrastructure because we need a first-class fan experience, and we need a first-class playing experience. And so we're on that track to deliver that. Now, what we're doing in parallel is really focusing on our training centers. So I see, the Dallas USL club kit behind you. They just were awarded $85 million for their new high performance training center. And we're going to have, at least $500 million, over the next 5 years in training center development. That's the player's office, right? You see them in the stadium, but where the work happens every day is at the training center. So these players now are going to be playing in professional environments at world-class training centers with increasingly top-level coaches. That is the formula for producing top players, and we are on the cusp of that, in which you'll start to really see in about 5 years.
Amazing. I think this, that reminds me of a visual back in 2022, Louisville visiting down there in Kentucky, with their training facility as well as front office attached to that. When did you guys implement that? Is that something new, or because I'm used to always hearing about, owners talking about the mixed use development opportunity with the stadium, whether it's retail, residential, hotel, etc. But not ever always hearing about the training facility here and there. But you mentioned it, and I'm curious to know, because I don't hear about it too often. Maybe I'm not talking to a lot of people per se, but on that side, but the facilities don't come up often per se.
Yeah, no, you're right. Look, I think a lot of the focus goes on the stadium anchored development. That's certainly been the front-facing focus for myself, my real estate team, and for the league. That said, we have, probably 5 years ago, we at the league level and our team level started making massive investments in our academy infrastructure. First with having the teams in the league itself, and then we've been having extremely productive conversations with our city, county, and state partners, where these training centers are a fixture and an asset, different than a stadium, but have so much value. And so you see, Fort Lauderdale, another, just going on the scarf behind you. I think they have, they have one of the best campuses, which happens to be in partnership with a campus. But their just soccer-only campus of Fort Lauderdale United is amazing. And so, we want to provide first-class training centers and offices for our players. And so it's been a huge focus and a huge point of conversation, again, with our city partners, to make sure that we're not only delivering these first-class stadiums in districts, but we're also doing the training centers. And again, as I mentioned in Dallas, and I've been to a lot of training centers around Europe, and put aside the Arsenals and the Man Cities and kind of the top 30 teams in Europe. Our training centers are going to be, I think, superior to mostly everyone else. We're building them new. We're really integrating other components like hospitals and other elements, other commercial elements, to really make them kind of have standalone economics. And I think broadly, almost all of our city would say that they're underfielded in terms of their needs for their youth soccer community. And so we're solving two problems at once. And so I think one of the coolest things about soccer is you have a direct connection between the pro and the youth, right? And so when you can take that and have a physical manifestation of that, where the players are training on fields alongside their pro counterparts, their dressing rooms and their cafeteria and their weight rooms are all there with their pro counterparts. That's how, they learn to be a professional on and off the field. And that's what these training centers deliver.
100%. Thank you for the context. With saying that, going back to a player perspective and product on field, the importance of the training facility to produce the best performing player and recovery, etc. Then we're diving into player transfers and the opportunity of a player transferring for $1 million to players range up to $50 to $100 million. From your perspective, I've heard you say this as well on other podcasts. I've listened to a few of you, a ton of yours per se. I like to learn about the league, especially before coming to Spokane. I rewatched a few of them to listen in. But yeah, could you talk a little bit about player transfer and the vision of USL and clubs? I just had Dan, I'm going to butcher his last name, or Daniel Ritson from the Orange County, and they've done a really great job in transferring players to Europe. So if you could share some context there and for USL's perspective on it and goal and vision.
Sure. So from a valuation perspective, what's exciting about USL is that we've crossed the 50, 75, $100 million valuation marks. And those valuations don't include player transfers because they're not reoccurring in nature enough. If you look at all the clubs around the world, player transfers, are top 2 and certainly top 4 part of their revenue mix. And so, as I mentioned, for USL, we've been really focused on getting that 4-wall revenue of the stadium, tickets, sponsorship, concession, merchandise, about getting that solidified. But now, since we're on our way there, again, this has been we're halfway through kind of a 10-year investment cycle. But player transfers, we have some of the best athletes in the world in the United States. We just haven't developed them right for soccer. That is changing. That is underway. You're not going to see the full effect of that for at least 5 years because these players are now going through the academy structure and we're opening up new markets on a regular basis. So I think it'll be 5 years or so before you see the full effect of that. But when we, on a look forward basis, especially from an investor perspective, that's really exciting because if we're hitting these valuation benchmarks before player transfers comes online in a meaningful way, reoccurring way, that is, that changed the whole paradigm, right? Right now, players are kind of viewed as expenses. Soon, they're going to be viewed as assets. And so that has a trickle-down effect in a big way because once our clubs start looking at them as such, you're able to underwrite a significantly higher investment into their development. And so, again, that's why we want to get these training centers up and going. And now when we're looking at coaching, from our gyms, our physios, our recovery rooms, when we can underwrite more investment in that area because it's supported by higher player transfer values, that's how we can really start, again, improving the valuation, but more importantly, investing more in our player talent. And so that's really exciting, I think, for fans. It's really exciting for investors, and it's really exciting for players and coaches because the whole ecosystem benefits by having this increased level of investment.
Amazing. Every week, or maybe it's every day, I should say, but probably every week, I'm seeing, or every month, every time I go on LinkedIn, I'm seeing a new launch. USL is going to this market. USL is going into that market. And it's exciting to see soccer is growing rapidly. Could you share how many teams are coming online, both on the men's and women's? And if you want, which one you're really excited about, if you could share that. A
Well,
new
we
one.
love all of our teams equally, as you know, just like we love all of our kids equally. But uh, the what you're referring to is almost a decade of, and for me, a decade of work, because what's important is not just announcing teams, right? That's kind of easy. What's hard is announcing teams with first-class stadiums, districts, and training facilities. That's hard. And so the kind of unique approach that we took at the USL was we have a large real estate team, as you know, a lot of them, and we're working with our city, county, and state partners for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years to put these stakeholder groups together to bring stadiums, which are very hard. They're hard to get entitled, they're hard to zone, they're hard to finance. It's hard to find enough land, contiguous land. So all of that's very hard. But when you work on it for a long time, and when you have great city partners like we do, like you met many of them in Spokane, we're able, and you have a high execution. What the result of that is, after 10 years, is dozens of new markets coming online. So I think when you look out from now to the end of the year, we're going to have many more markets being announced. And what's exciting is that what comes along with all of those is great stadium developments. And because when you have that sustainable revenue, it makes for a sustainable investment, which when you have a sustainable investment, that leads to more investment. And what the result of that is a great league. And that's what, and a great league is made up of great teams. And a great teams are made up of really passionate fans. And we need to deliver a first-class fan experience for those fans on the field and off the field. And so, that's where I think these community clubs that we're building are resonating so much within our communities.
Understood. In regards to, for investors evaluating opportunities across the global football, what makes USL uniquely positioned to deliver both financial returns and relevance in the U.S. sports landscape?
Yeah, so I think we have a couple of different aspects there. One, sports in general, I think in the past 2 years especially, is firmly recognized now as a strong part of the alternative asset allocation mix. And so previously, I think sports, even though I think unjustifiably, were viewed as yachts or other type of kind of luxury assets that wealthy people bought for vanity purposes. Now that's changed. When you look back on really any return metric compared to the S&P 500 or art or other asset classes, sports is shown to be uncorrelated from those markets, and for almost all of them have outperformed them on a 20-year look back. And so I think now professional investors, institutional investors are wanting sports to be part of their mix. The result of that is billions and billions of dollars are flowing into the sports space. Particularly for USL, what I think the investment thesis is that we're far enough along where we're a proven league, but we're still early enough along where there is still substantial upside from organic revenue growth. And so that's where, again, we've really worked on, because stadiums, if done properly, are going to produce a lot of revenue. And then we look outside to our real estate, ancillary real estate, to our, to our training centers, which has another opportunity for revenue growth in terms of sponsorship, field rentals, real estate development. And so I think we are unique in that compared to particularly, other clubs in Europe, where we also, on a per capita / team basis, the United States just way over indexes, right? So, clubs in Europe that just on a country level, they're just smaller because there's dozens of teams within a population base that is substantially smaller than the United States. And so you take the population base of our teams, the corporate base, and then put in the structural revenues we have with our stadiums, and then the future revenues we're going to have in terms of player transfers and media. And I think investors, that's why they're investing billions of dollars into the USL, see that. And every day we get validated on that thesis by our city, county partners, our media partners, our corporate partners, our fans, and equally important, our players who are choosing to come and play in the USL.
Got it. Side note, for anyone trying to get into USL, one of my big takeaways from Spokane, Matt, Rita had mentioned there's a timeline per se of 5 to 6 years before, I'm giving urgency to anyone listening to get in, and before it's too late and all the big boys come in, big PEs and Saudi money, international, etc. Justin, would you validate that as well? I mean, just confirming what Matt said.
Yeah, and I think the timetable. I think they'll be open in 5 to 6 years, which means those stadium deals in large part, the 70 that we're working on, the ones that are going to work out for a variety of reasons, land, assemblage, all that, probably 30 to 40. And those will be done in the next couple of years. I mean, these aren't early stage conversations. Again, we've been in these markets for 5 and sometimes up to 10 years. And so when you saw from Spokane, these are active conversations. We have engaged city partners, which is amazing. You can't do a deal without not only a supportive city, but an engaged city. And by them taking the time out for 2 days to fly to Spokane to see it, and which is just, again, a small sample size of the markets we're working on, cities want economic development, and they really see the soccer as the sport of the future. It's been really interesting, Kareem. When I started in 08, in 15, a lot of the city managers, mayors I met with, for 2 years were baseball people. And now, after that, there's an amazing switch where that generation kind of retired and was replaced by mayors and city managers that were soccer people. They played soccer, their kids played soccer, they viewed soccer as the sport of the future. And so, that is a huge reason why, we have billions of dollars of investment from our city partners, is because they believe in soccer and they believe in the power that these stadiums will bring in terms of economic development to their communities. And now people have a choice where to live, especially post-COVID. They're wanting to attract and retain millennials, and soccer and professional sports is one thing they look for. And I think we're delivering that.
Yeah, 100%. I think, having just some context on our side, having that experience engaging with the city that's interested to bring professional soccer to their market, but the support is not fully there. It has been, something we're still working through. But in Spokane, I think the group from Texas, in their market, I think that's an extremely exciting opportunity there with everything that's going on. And it was music to my ears when I heard this during the roundtable discussions with the investor group. And you had all the different groups share some of the obstacles they may be facing, or some of the things were taking longer than they wanted it to be or expected it to be. And the city officials from Texas, they got up there, shared their vision, their story, and they were like, the main two things, or a few things that we heard, was we're going to make sure we're like, the city's already on side and we have 100 acres of land ready to go. And I was like, that was music to my ears, because of having the experience in one of the markets that we're trying to work on to bring USL to the market. And again, it was just music to my ears. And you had said that just now as well, having city officials on side supporting it is extremely important to the project. And I've heard across the board from everyone else. So yeah, massive point there. With saying that, why is local ownership so central to the US model? What does a successful club owner partnership look like? And how do you ensure operators are aligned with long-term league and community goals?
That's a great question. So what the approach that we've taken is, one, we, for 90% of our deals, again, we put the same deal together and we bring it to owners and potential investors. So I think local owners, sports teams are different than owning a warehouse, right? There's a community aspect to it. And so having individuals, again, a lot of our investors didn't play soccer, weren't soccer fanatics certainly by any stretch, but they care about their community. And they also are looking at this as a platform if they are going to invest their money somewhere. And so when we can pair the love of community with the historic returns and the potential future returns that professional sports in USL has, that's a compelling equation for them. And so I think for us, one of the superpowers that sports has is between our owners across all of our teams. We have an incredible assemblage of talent, and that can be from tech, from real estate, from pharmaceuticals, really no other business that you get an amazing group of successful people together around a shared vision. So we compete on the field, but off the field, we're partners. And so to be able to harness that talent and execute around this opportunity of soccer in the United States is one of the things I think is one of our superpowers. And a lot of our clubs now, have 10 to 30 owners. And that means every club that we bring on, we are getting 30 sets of relationships and expertise and connections. And so that's what I think what's really the flywheel effect of having those relationships and experience and capital moving towards a single vision. When you multiply that by 40, 50, 60 clubs, and you start to see why I think we have the inertia behind us to build a really successful enterprise.
Understood. With saying that, when USL is assessing a market for a USL expansion, what are the key factors on the soccer side and the real estate side that signals an opportunity with true upside and staying power?
Yeah, it's a great question, one we think a lot about. So what we really look for is an opportunity to drive transformational development. What we've seen is in almost every market, there's a parcel of land for some reason, and there've been a lot of different reasons, that just hasn't found the right catalyst to go. And so one of the tricky parts about development is you need people to get bars and restaurants. You need bars and restaurants to get people. How do you break, that chicken the egg dynamic? One of the ways to do that is through a stadium, because stadiums provide the anchor and the catalyst to make all of the land around it more valuable, because we're going to be bringing hundreds of thousands of people, potentially a million people, to the site every year. And so as part of that, and to, again, spin that flywheel faster, we've really thought about how to make our stadiums multi-purpose, so that, we have 40 games between men's and women's professional soccer. We, in Spokane, I mean, they're doing 20 or 30 concerts a year, between festivals and everything else. You add another 30, 40 dates on top of that. Then whether it's, a game happening on the field or a concert on the pitch, we're having hundreds of events off the field with nothing happening, and leveraging our premium space as a differentiated space for business meetings, for wedding receptions, for bar mitzvahs, for quinceañeras, right? So there's a lot of beige four-wall rooms and hotel ballrooms in every city. But when you can have your wedding reception in a stadium, in the premium, suite area, when they can go down on the fields, you can put your history of your relationship up on the Jumbotron for everyone to see. It's a differentiated type of venue. And so that's what we really try to think about, because we call our stadiums our community living rooms, because it's really, that one place that everyone can come together. And we want to make sure that that's for the whole spectrum of the community, and also for economic development purposes, that we're bringing super regional a draw in that's spending money with our local bars and restaurants, that's staying in our hotels, so that they're driving those tax dollars for our city partners and for our local business owners. So that's how we really think about it. And so to put the deals together, we need a great piece of property, and we need an engaged city, county, state, fairground partner, depending on the context, right? We need great municipal partners, because these are hard deals. But that's why at the league, we're taking, the lead on most of them, so that, we will work on them for 2 years, 5 years, 7 years. And then our investor partners can come in on the back end of that when we have line of sight on the framework of the deal, so that they can then take the baton from there forward.
Very good. Justin, I want to ask you, you're very busy. What does your day-to-day look like?
Yeah. So, again, we're really fortunate at the league to have a lot of incredible people at the league office. So, I think running a league, there's, we have over 1,000, just on the professional side of the business, over 1,000 live events happening from 5 p.m. Eastern time to 10, 11 o'clock Pacific time. And so, there's a lot of things that happen in live events, weather delays, and all sorts of other things that happen. And so these are live events broadcasted on local, national, and internationally. And so we have a big team of people that really makes this operation run so effectively. Personally, I spend a lot of my time traveling around, meeting with our incredible city partners. As I mentioned, we have 70 active stadium developments going. And so it's really important for us and for me personally that our city partners, that we really develop strong personal relationships. They're putting a lot of a lot of political capital and financial capital on the line, and it's really important that we can spend time with them, explain the value proposition, really work through all the myriad of issues and doing large scale development, and that we have a strong personal connection. And so that's where I spent a lot of my time. And then, yesterday I was in Lexington, spending a day with our amazing owner up there, Bill Shively, who's built, one of the best campuses in the country, building one of the best soccer clubs in the country. And so just want to make sure we really understand from our team owners' perspective, what are the issues that they're facing, what areas that, is important for them to drive the business forward. And then, unfortunately, only 3 or 4 days a week that I'm in our office here in Tampa. We're meeting with our team here, talking about a range of issues that it takes to run a large league that has multiple leagues underneath it. And I think it's really important that we spend a lot of time on the pro side of our business, but we have an incredible pre-pro and academy, and you can see that. I don't know if you're be able to go up to Vermont this weekend to see our League Two final, but I can tell you there is not a hotter ticket to a soccer match in the United States this week than Vermont. I mean, sellout is an understatement. The passion, excitement that our pre-pro clubs like Vermont Green or Ballard, who they're playing, which is a sub-market outside of in Seattle. They have passionate fans as much as any of our League One, Super League, or Championship clubs. And so I think, again, that's what's really important about building this ecosystem, and that will be on full display as they've done all season in Vermont. So if you can tune in to Sports Engine Play to watch that match, it's going to be, I think, one of the coolest soccer experiences in the country, and it's happening at the pre-pro level in Vermont this weekend.
How many fans will be attending round?
How many fans?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, they could easily sell 20,000. I think the fire marshal is going to be on full alert there this week. So I think I don't know if they can fit more than 5,500, 6,000. But it's certainly going to be the hottest ticket in town, in probably the United States. So I think they've sold out every match this season. And certainly they had an incredible semifinal match where they advanced on PKs, which, is obviously culminating in the final versus another incredible club with Ballard. And again, it's amazing to see that amount of passion, excitement across all of our different levels at USL. And the same thing happened on our W League just a couple weeks ago as well.
Yep. Will you be in attendance?
I won't be able to make that one, unfortunately, but I think we're going to have 10 people or so up there. We have a great group led by Joel Nash, who runs our pre-pro properties, and along with our comms, marketing, ops staff. So the league office will definitely be well represented. And again, what an incredible way. I'm so excited for our League Two team here at the office that really puts together. It's an incredible pathway for players, an incredible touch point for fans and markets around the country. And you'll see increasing amount of this, like with Knoxville next year. Sarasota is going to be moving up from pre-pro to pro. Same thing with Eugene. So this real, the USL is a true pyramid, and you'll see, markets that are certainly operating at the professional level, like Vermont, like Ballard, like Dothan, like Minnesota Aurora on the W League side, that are providing this incredible player experience, fan experience, and just contributing to the growth of soccer here in the United States.
Nice. You mentioned Sarasota Paradise, currently USL 2, jumping up to USL 1. I've had Marcus Wefferson on the podcast. I'm interested to learn, how does a club go from USL 2 to USL 1? How do you guys approve that? What boxes need to be checked off to say, hey, yes, we're gonna enable you to come to USL 1?
So there's a couple of things. Again, a lot of our clubs in League Two do operate at that level, like the ones I just mentioned. To take that next jump up, it's even though you're going from League Two to League One, it's not a linear jump. You're talking about an exponential kind of increase in budget, in operation, in number of matches, the types of matches, et cetera. So the couple of big things, of course, are stadium. So, I mean, you see some of our teams, one of the biggest limiting factors. So if you take Vermont, you take Annapolis, they can't, Annapolis can't, they did 13,000 people. They just can't use that venue, except for the summer, because they play at Navy's football stadium. So in those cases, and same thing I would say for Eugene and for Sarasota, which is similar with Knoxville a couple years ago, is we need to solve the stadium part of the equation. And so in all these markets, we've been working hard at that. Sarasota, which is similar to Eugene, they've been able to, at least on a short-term basis, make a substantial investment in the stadium to take it from a League Two up to a League One level. And then the second part of that equation is to bring in investors that are investing at that level. So, which is a different investment than at the League Two level. And so sometimes it's a lot of the same group that do it, which is fantastic. With Marcus, you have like an amazing club operator and owner like Marcus, who brought in an amazing partner. Same thing in Eugene, that brought in a partner that wants to make a substantial investment into the club. And so the formula, but the formula starts with having a great brand, being very relevant in your community. And if you have those, again, the investment in the stadium will follow. And so I think we have a good track record of that. And I think you'll see several other clubs over the next couple of years make that jump as their cities, now, especially with promotion relegation, and again, World Cup will certainly help. They want to be part of this amazing movement in soccer on both the men's side and the women's side. And so, the way to do that is to move up into the professional ranks.
Yeah, you mentioned Annapolis Blues 2. They went from NPSL to USL 2, killing it. 10,000, 11,000 plus fans. And,
Yep.
Michael Hitchcock, I know, I've spoken to him offline. He's always been focused on the semi-pro level per se. So, it'd be interesting to see what he does in the future if they potentially move up. But he's done extremely well on the semi-pro side. So moving on to the launch of the USL Super League reflects a bold commitment to women's soccer. What are you doing differently to ensure these clubs are commercially viable, competitively strong, and structurally sound from day one?
Yeah. So the playbook is remarkably the same as with our men. Having a sustainable, investable, and high growth company, which we have teams, is the same thing. You need great stadiums, you need great management, you need great ownership, and you need all of that in the context of a very engaged municipal partner. And so some of the opportunity sets are different in women's soccer. On the plus side, we're fortunate in the United States to have the best women's soccer players in the world. Kind of take the Brazilian, Argentinian men and put them together, and that's what our starting point is on women's soccer here in the United States. What has before we started the Super League last year, there were 40,000 women college soccer players, and there was 220 spots in professional soccer. We're going to probably 5x that over the next 5 years. And what even though we had the best players, what we haven't delivered on as a country or an industry is being able to put them on a commercial platform to showcase that talent. If you take the Cowboys and put them in a low-grade high school football stadium, unsurprisingly, they're not going to generate a lot of revenue because there's not a lot of revenue to generate. You put them in a proper venue and create a great fan experience, create hospitality so that companies can entertain clients, so that the broadcast looks like a proper broadcast with lighting and sound and visual optics around the stadium, and they can be compelling product. And so that's what we're doing on the women's side. We're putting these amazing women athletes on a platform that they can showcase their talents, and that they can be done in a commercial setting that enables the clubs to be sustainable, to pay the players well. And so that's what we're working on there. Similarly, we're working the same on the training facilities to be able to make sure that our Super League athletes have the right environment to go to work every day and refine their craft. And then just up with our Peacock partners last week, and we really wanted to be on Peacock because their only soccer property other than us was the Premier League. And so I think we had a great first season, and now with Jacksonville coming in as our expansion franchise here in 2025 in a couple weeks, just to show growth. They have, I think, 6,000 plus season tickets sold, and they haven't even played one match yet. And so if you look down the road with Boise, who's coming in 2027, on the men's side, I think they're at 6,000 or 7,000 season tickets. And I'm sure they'll do the same on the women's side, if not more. And then if you look down the road, from a revenue mix perspective, the Women's Club World Cup is starting in 2028. We saw the impact that has financially and from a fan experience on the men's side this past summer. And you would hope that FIFA does the right thing in putting the same financial incentives for the teams and the players as they did on the men's side. And so that is again, from an investor perspective, that is a significant revenue source that is not really the same on the men's side, just because the men's side, our Division I men, it'll be a lot harder putt to win the Club World Cup against Chelsea, so to speak, on the men's side. Not to say that we won't be competing for it in it when we are Division I. But the women's side, I think, we can say with a lot of confidence, we want to not only play in the Women's Club World Cup, we want to win the Women's Club World Cup. And I think, having a 5-7 year target to do that is very attainable. And again, that comes with a significant amount of financial upside. But that creates a different, slightly different strategy. But again, it all starts with you got to have a sustainable foundation, and that's with the stadium, the district. And so that's why we're working hard, on that side, because these stadiums are going to be built as much for our women as for our men.
Yeah, that's really exciting, Justin. And it reminds me of like my experience growing up and playing in Canada. We didn't have a professional league to look up to until 2019, where they came out with the Canadian Premier League. So now with the Super League, you guys are creating that pathway and that platform for the women, creating jobs on the field and off the field. And as each team on both the men's and women's side both come online, more jobs are being created, from construction to on the field, off the field, etc. You guys are creating hundreds of thousands of jobs, and it's gonna continue to go, which is changing people's lives. With saying that, on the topic of jobs, what advice would you give to the young generation growing up? A lot of players want to go pro, but the 0.001% make it. But sometimes, even for myself, I didn't realize until some time that there is opportunity to still be involved in the game off the field. But leading towards my question is, what advice would you give to the young generation growing up right now, graduating high school or in university, college, that want to be in the passion industry per se, or the sports industry?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, because I think it's one of our biggest challenges, and certainly one of our biggest opportunities. As you said, there's a small percentage of boys or girls, or young men and young women who will play professional soccer on the field. But one of our biggest challenges that we're thinking about every day is we're going to have thousands of front office jobs just in the USL. And so if you're looking for not a job, but a career in professional sports, to stay close to the game, to be part of growing the game, it's really exciting, because whether you might not be in the top 1% of on the field talent, but if you really passionate about social media or communications or consumer products or sales or finance, go down the list of jobs that we have at the USL league office, or that are in our teams, or in our tier kind of one partners, from our broadcast partners to our commercial partners to our architects to our engineers. There's going to be a lot of career openings for people interested in sports. And so, talking our book a little bit, but I would say what the value, even if you ultimately want to go work in American football or baseball or basketball, the business side of sports is largely similar. And what you'll get out of starting your career in the USL ecosystem is you'll get a lot more responsibility quickly, and we're also unlike our counterparts in the NFL teams or MLB teams, which are largely mature organizations, so they don't have a lot of growth in terms of number of new departments and employees, et cetera, where our teams in our league office we're growing, 30+% a year. We're adding new leagues, we're adding new divisions. And so there's huge opportunity for upward mobility and just giving more and more responsibility early on. And so, again, it's not quite the same, but it's like if, you want to start your job at Google, right? Google is a great company. They happen to be a very large company, right? And so when you're talking about companies of that size, it's just a slower climb up because they are so large. And so with USL, again, even if ultimately you don't want to stay in soccer, which we hope you do, I think the fastest way is to go up through the USL ranks and then do a lateral move over after you've hit the director, VP, SVP, and certainly C-suite level. And so and we're all around the country. And so, again, you have a choice of where to live. We are, we're everywhere, and more everywhere, certainly in the next 6 to 8 months, which we'll be announcing. And you get to be part of as much, in baseball, there's so much history there, which is great. But with soccer and the USL, you get to be part of shaping a club's identity, and I think that's so cool. The traditions, the values that you get to create by being at a USL club that's starting at the beginning it's a really cool thing that doesn't really happen in other sports. It's certainly being part of this amazing sport that is just so early on in its growth. And then I'd say what's also exciting is you get to, most clubs have men and women, boys and girls, right? So unlike other sports that don't have a direct connection to the youth part of their sports, or a men's and women's vertical all under one roof, that is, that's another advantage that we have in the market for talent, and one that we're being very aggressive to try to recruit, because we're going to have a lot of openings.
Nice. Well, Justin, we're up towards the end. Was there anything else that you wanted to share?
No, again, I appreciate you having me on. I know you're talking with so many of the people building the sport across the United States. So thanks for what you're doing. And again, this is going to be an amazing time. In 2025 is going to be an amazing inflection year, and that we're going to have the spotlight of the world on our sport, on our country, going into the back half of 25 and then into 26. It's an amazing opportunity to showcase the progress that we've made to date and the runway that we have for growth on a go-forward basis.
Amazing. Well, Justin, thank you again for taking the time, for being on the One Soccer Nation podcast.